Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to AFC Newsday. Apologies, we're a few minutes late there. We've been having some technical issues. My Wi-Fi connection isn't quite as strong as it normally is, so apologies if I'm not quite in the glistening quality that Matt's displaying or I usually display. So there we go. We move on that front. So apologies in advance for that. I hope everyone's well tuning in. Welcome back, Matthew. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Arsenal continuing to thrive. Obviously, a huge game which we'll be previewing tomorrow night in the bruised banana Arsenal kit. Don't really wear Arsenal kits for these, but I thought why not? So can't complain. How are you, my friend? How's your weekend been?
Yeah, not too bad to be honest, mate. Yeah, it's been all right. Lots of football that's been squeezed in over the last kind of like week and a bit. But tonight we're going to be previewing Arsenal's big game at Bayern Munich. Apologies again if I'm not quite looking the best quality in my networks. Struggling tonight, I will be making a phone call to my provider tomorrow morning, as suggested by the wonderful Yembele, who's all in the know and advised me about these things. Yem, how are you?
I'm all right. You know what? Yeah, as I said earlier, I had an incident myself, not technical, but more physical, in that I bit my tongue quite
Yeah.
badly during eating,
Oh
which is
man.
it's killing me. But no, we
Yeah.
move. Just like the Arsenal, we keep moving. Despite anything, we just keep going. And do you know what? I'm loving it. Do you know what? I don't know about you guys, but I can't focus at the moment. I'm thinking about tomorrow, and all these games, the permutations, everything. Like ever since the Man United Liverpool result yesterday, my mind has just gone. It's literally like we're top of the league, and now you're like 7 games to go, a couple of Champions League games. What's the points total? Where we're going to drop points? Where are they going to drop? Honestly, my mind is now it's gone completely. It's really hard to concentrate at work. I don't know about you guys, but yeah,
Very
It
similar.
is super exciting. Matt, I'm sure you got your dissertation, haven't you? You're meant to be
oh God, that's
focusing
the
on.
worst thing. That's the worst thing to have, right?
I mean, I'd, yeah, you could say that. Yeah, I do, but the Arsenal take priority, don't they?
Yeah.
No. Obviously,
No,
just
Matt.
balance
Well,
everything. Well, don't worry, I'm not serious. I'm not serious.
we need
But
to disclaimer. Come on, there might be young, impressionable people watching. Disclaimer: university comes first, but the
yeah,
Arsenal are very, very close
Education's
second.
empowering. Then you can get to support the Arsenal we like.
Yeah,
but it's one
yeah,
word and it's
yeah.
balance. And yeah, got a
Balance,
while left
100%.
to do it in a good place with it. So we'll go from
Nice
there and
man.
just continue watching the Arsenal as that's priority at the minute, to be honest.
I must say, man, I do not envy you at all. I finished university and education last year, and this year, just going into full time work, which I'm incredibly blessed and fortunate to be able to do, is just, man, I just love not having to worry about deadlines and essays. So if you are doing them, respect to you,
Not
and Matt,
worrying about
respect to you.
referencing again will be
Oh man,
fantastic.
referencing, that's the worst one, but yeah, there we go. We've had a lot of football since we were last on. We had Rohan on, of course, for our last preview when we previewed the Manchester City game. We've had also a game against Luton. We've had the game against Brighton. So, we can have a little bit of a kind of reflect on that before we get ahead to the Bayern Munich stuff. If you are watching, please do comment how you're feeling ahead of the game. I've seen Sam's commented saying you can't hide from him, Matthew. I know do you know what? For the people that want to know why Sam's commented that, it's because Sam's currently on the ticket exchange trying to get tickets, and Matt was helping him a bit earlier. So, yeah, no, honestly, the ticket exchange is just a mess. But however, we have positive news. That is that myself and Matthew and Yambele, as he always is, are going to be at the game tomorrow night, and I'm so excited.
You know what I'm more excited for? That I might actually
Go on.
meet Matt for the first time.
Oh yes, it's still not happened, man. It's
Right,
Matt's fault. It's Matt's
gotta
fault.
have
We can make that clear.
So Dan, that's your
debatable.
responsibility because you know where I sit. So Dan always knows because
Yes,
I don't move. I don't move.
yeah.
So
We'll come
you're
over
gonna have
before
to
the
go.
game.
Yeah,
We will
No,
pop
no.
over.
we will be
I'll
there.
take.
We will be there.
We will be
Perfect. Yeah,
there. We will be there.
we will be there.
And I'll make sure to take a picture of the two of you so we can prove it on the internet. Um, there we go. Shout out to nearly
Don't go that far.
100
Don't go
of you.
that far.
Go on.
Matt's a handsome man. This is not. This is.
Oh man. Shout out to over 100 of you now tuned in. Please do subscribe/follow. AFC Newsday. We do appreciate you sticking around here. Let's reflect on the games Arsenal have played then since we were last live. The Manchester City game. I mean, we can start there. Yem, what were your kind of main thoughts from the Manchester City game? It was, as I'm sure many, I mean, I expected, and I'm sure many people were quite disappointed that it really wasn't the spectacle for like the neutral to watch. But nevertheless, you absolutely take a point at Manchester City and the Etihad, don't you?
Oh, of course you do. You go if the main thing, and I always said it is, if you don't lose to your rivals, that's the main thing. You don't get beat. Doesn't matter. Look, we'd like to always, all of us would like to have a scintillating performance where we're battering teams, etc. But you're going to the treble winners in their own ground, which they haven't been beaten in like years. It's been years since someone's. Like I think Brentford were the last team to beat them. So you go with a game plan. Bare minimum, you don't lose, and then you take your chances. Look, unfortunately, we did get chances. We got good chances, and we maybe could have scored. But I will definitely take a point. Given what we know now, hindsight's always a wonderful thing. But given what we know now, where we are, the point is invaluable. Because without that point, we wouldn't be top right now, and it puts us in a good position. And I think if we're going to lose this title, it won't be because we didn't get 3 points at City. It will be because of the West Ham Fulham results. But Mikel Arteta, in this, let's look at the facts. We have beaten our rivals, or we've not lost to our rivals. That's unheard of usually in a season. It's usually tit for tat. It's very rare. 8 points from City and Liverpool. The other two have got 4. That just speaks volumes. And I thought, look, it's not the game that everyone wanted, the showpiece spectacle, as you said, Dan. But I don't care. I don't care really what happens at the moment. All I care about is 3 points every game. 3 points. Don't care if we have to, if we have to grind it out. It's all that matters now.
Yeah, 100%. And I was kind of, it was just, I felt like, as I have done, I think, when I've watched Arsenal play Man City the 3 times they have this season, if you count the Community Shield, just feels like a chess match. They make a slight adjustment. And I mean, this game as well, it was really interesting, Matt. I don't know if you saw, but Mikel Antonio was saying on, the BBC podcast he does that they saw Declan Rice before the game, and he kind of said the game plan. He said, look, it's not going to be your usual Arsenal that go to the Etihad in this game. It's going to be, a very different Arsenal, and it was a very different Arsenal, much more defensively focused and, absolutely outstanding defensively. But what did you kind of make of the overall game plan? Would you have liked Mikel Arteta to go a bit more attacking in the game?
I think it's all in the name of balance, and I think it also goes back to what we'll talk about the Luton game very, very briefly as well afterwards. But it goes back to what Rob Edwards said, that we're a team who can play pretty much any way you want us to. You want it to be a dogfight, you want it to be a technical battle, you want it to be pragmatic, and we sit in a mid block and hit in transitions. We can do it all, and we have the profiles to do it all. Really, you've got so many different players who can do so many different game states. So when you have that at your disposal, and you're in the position Arsenal are in, you can go to the Etihad, and if you have the ability to hold City up to a 0-0 draw, that's a magnificent thing. This is, we can't be arrogant about things. This is Man City, not the same City side as last season, but it doesn't matter. It's a City side in the title run in, and the context is very different for them playing us compared to playing, I don't know, a West Ham or playing Chelsea or anyone like that. Is completely different. So it doesn't matter if X team ends up setting up against City and getting a point or a win. If we tried to do that, you risk it becoming a basketball game, which for one isn't our style, and that would be something to be pretty fatiguing. And for two, you go to the Etihad, and a ground which, to be honest, we've been absolutely humiliated at time and time and time again. And to play City 3 times this season, not lose once, draw at the toughest ground in world football currently, and win at our place is not only a massive mental boost going forward for anything we want to achieve this season and beyond, but it's a massive mental boost for every time we do play Man City. And yeah, it's just, it's important to not really listen to the narratives on Twitter or whatever. You could say as well with what Mikel Antonio said, that, we potentially did get pushed a tiny bit further back than we wanted to, which City do to you. Even if they're not at their best, so to speak, they're still incredibly good at sustaining pressure. They just suffocate you entirely. So all in all, can't complain. And, particularly the fact we've won 2 on the bounce since, and Liverpool, of course, dropped points, and we're now in pole position, so to speak, or, in front. So
thing is, we made the better chances. Look, they had more possession, but they had one chance, which was the Nathan Ake header. We created the better chances. So overall, look, Yeah, we could have got the 3 points. I think we could have. If Trossard, you look at that Trossard chance, you look at the Gabriel Jesus slide at the far post, we could have won it, yes. But as I said, the bare minimum is not to get beat. And that's because look what happened last year. We were on that kind of surge of form, and then we went to the Etihad, we played open, and look, we got torn to shreds. So I think Mikel Arteta has learned very much what happened last year. Do not get beat, and then you try and see what you can get. At the Emirates, it's different. At the Emirates, sorry, Matt.
I was just going to say on, just very quickly as well, on, what we learned from last season. I think it's surprising that Havertz played a lot as a number 8, because I've been thinking more and more recently that game from City was a template for someone like Kai Havertz. I know Arteta's always favoured a big man, but I think that City game was a complete template of why Kai Havertz, although he wasn't overly effective on the day, is such an invaluable profile to have and is such a key part of us being able to play a number of ways. Because, you look at that first goal from City last season, we didn't start the game well, so to speak. We didn't start it overly badly. And we overcommitted City, which is very easy to do. You've got to be so clever and so careful against City, because if you overstep the mark, you're done, just like that. And we overstepped the mark last season. We overpressed. They played a long ball to Haaland. They won that long ball, and De Bruyne was in. We now have that weapon against teams, against top teams, against, teams when they're maybe sustaining on us a bit more, like a Brighton, for example. We have that option to go long and for Havertz to either hold up the ball, win a free kick, or play it off to someone else. And I think that's absolutely invaluable in games like this.
Yeah, Kai Havertz has been, so good to watch recently, and getting that goal against Brighton. Just before we reflect on the Luton and Brighton game, shout out to Luke, who's in the chat. Said, all right, lads, good luck tomorrow against Bayern like we did last season. I'm assuming Manchester City fan, just based off what I'm looking here, because City got Bayern in the quarterfinals last year. So, good timing with that one. He says, hit them with all you've got at home because you don't want to go to the Allianz needing a win, which is, a very good point. We'll get onto that more later. AFC Talk, shout out to you guys in the chat as well. Please do comment down below how you're feeling ahead of the Bayern game. It's a huge game for Arsenal, and we're all going to be there. We will be there. Man, I'm so excited. And Rohan's going to be there too, and Aaron, and there's so many people that are going to be there, and it's just going to be a great day out. I'll share with you. I finish my shift at 4 tomorrow. I'm getting the 4:05 train from Southampton to London, and then I'm gonna be running from the office. I'm so excited for it, man.
Is there going to be some accompanying music or something like that? Some jolly music.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be like the Rocky music, like as I'm
exactly.
Running. Yeah.
Play it through your headphones the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. Man, get the Eye of the Tiger going. Yeah. Eye of the Tiger, get that going. Get ready.
Feel like I'm in a movie. I can't wait for it. It's going to be so good, and the atmosphere is going to be incredible. If the Porto game,
I will say, go off, then, can I shout out one thing? I think it's a little disappointing, and I don't know if you saw the tweets from Red Action. So Red Action wanted to put a big tifo display up for this game, which I thought which is a really good idea. We're talking about probably our biggest game for a while in terms of European competition. Back after 14 years, we're in the quarterfinals, and I would hope that Arsenal would want to make it a big occasion, but we're hearing that they didn't authorise it, unfortunately, which is a bit sad, because I think they've done better to get the atmosphere up again, because obviously for a while it was lagging. They've done some good stuff recently, but a tifo display, you see it at some of the grounds, and it's like, wow, that's impressive. And it's just a bit of a shame they didn't push the boat out a little bit to say, look, this is. I mean, you saw it against who was it? Who was was it the City game, or was it when at Man City?
I think was it Newcastle? Was it City?
I can't remember. They had a massive display, didn't they?
That display was Newcastle.
Yeah, and I just thought, wow, that's really impressive, and it shows that the club listen to the fan groups, and I know Arsenal do, but you just want it to be a bit more, especially for these big games. Just give it a bit more. We've got the whole stadium allocated to us. Literally going to be the biggest cauldron atmosphere. So it's a little disappointing. I'm just shouting that out just to say, look, the guys at Red Action are unbelievable, as most of our fan groups are. And it's just a bit disappointing that Arsenal are not supporting them in the way that they should do, really, in these kind of big occasions.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see if I'm sure there'll be some things, like I know the Porto game, they had the flags in the North Bank, and they've been doing those regularly recently.
And about making it unique, so to speak, for a game.
Yeah, of course.
Our
I
last
remember
contact.
the Atletico Madrid game at the Emirates for the that Europa League was at semi-final,
Yep.
and the home leg the whole stadium had the things to hold up before kickoff, and something like that would just be quite quite something if they could sort something
Want to
like that.
intimidate?
But
Look, we're
mm,
already making it an intimidating atmosphere because we should be having pretty much all of the stadium to ourselves because of
yeah,
obviously the action against. But you really want to push the boat out to make it completely intimidating. This is Bayern Munich we're talking about, and obviously we'll go on to it. But
mm,
you want to give yourself every advantage, and the players would. I think it would just. If I saw that as a player, and I know obviously players have seen so much, you'd be like, "Wow, that is
yeah.
unreal." So it is what it
Mm.
is. But yeah, I hope in the future, we hopefully will be in the Champions League latter stages more and more, and hopefully the club will see that look, it really does pay dividends to have these kind of fan fan led kind of initiatives.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm sure they'll be able to do something in the semi-final when we get there, eh, lads? Let's talk about that
So
later. Luke's saying sadly there's a similar sort of situation at City where not as much kind of a good line of communication between supporters and the club. Lads, let's reflect. A little bit more reflecting. I want to talk about the Luton Brighton game. Luton, there was lots of rotations. We saw Emil Smith Rowe, Reece Nelson come in. A bit of a disappointing performance, I thought, from Reece Nelson, unfortunately. But Smith Rowe was man of the match. And then the Brighton game, an incredibly mature performance, I thought. A clean sheet away at Brighton, who'd not lost there for a long, long time. What were your kind of main takeaways from those games? I know you can probably talk about the Brighton game more because I'd say that's more of a realistic to what the team will be for most of the rest of the season. But what were some of your main takeaways from that?
well, the Luton game, I was obviously at the Luton game. It was the first time I was back for a while.
Hmm.
It was what I expected. You know what? It's a really good sign of our progression that we can rotate the squad quite heavily, which was a bit of a surprise from Mikel. Actually, it was more heavier than I thought it would be than he would go. I thought he'd do one or two or three, but he rotated quite heavily. Actually, Trossard, Reece Nelson, Emil Smith Rowe, as you said. Um, the only place that he didn't really do it too much was the defense, which shows how much he really wants that solidity in the defense. Obviously, Zinchenko came back, but do you know what? A professional performance, 2-0. Don't overexert yourself. No injuries, no cards. Just get the job done. And that's what you want in these. We've had these performances before where we've rotated the squad and it's been poor and lackluster, and we didn't get the result we needed, which showed the level of quality. I think we're getting more to the case that our squad is the depth is getting better. I think we can all acknowledge that. But the Luton game showed it's a lot better now than what it was in the past. And I'm actually really it was probably the only time that we could really rotate that much in this run that we've got. So we had to take advantage of it. And I think it paid off. I think the rest that most of the players got, like the Sackers, etc. Big it although it wasn't an explosive result, it's the perfect result for us and the perfect performance that we needed. The Brighton game, really professional performance. I loved it. Kept them at arm's length. We're talking about a very good Brighton side who at home are very formidable, still a formidable team, really good on the ball, can play out the back. There were some moments yesterday, and Ciso, quality little player, was very dangerous throughout, but we kept them at arm's length. Our defense continues to show why we are the best in the league by a distance. It's not even close anymore. It's by a distance. And you kept them at arm's length. We got the goals when we needed to. I thought the first 10 minutes, Brighton, inevitably, they're at home. They really came onto us. But after that, it wasn't even a contest. I just thought, wow, this is really good. And although I'm a nervous watcher, and FK will tell you because we were watching together, I'm a nervous watcher, but he was kept saying to me, this is going to be fine. It's going to be comfortable. And the thing is that although they had moments, Brighton, did they really have anything of consistent note? It was like one off. Whereas we were consistently battering that. We should have actually had a few more goals than we should have had. But penalty, the debate of the penalty, it was a penalty for me. I think although Lamptey got something on the ball and it was like the tiniest little nick, he went right through Jesus. It was.
I think as well. I think as well, just to add to that, for me as well, obviously I'm not exactly sure of what the letter of the law is, but regardless of if Lamptey got something on the ball or not, if he misses Jesus afterwards then, despite what he got on the ball, he's running in behind and he's got a goal scoring opportunity. So, the fact that he stops him from doing that, in my opinion, makes
Yeah, the
it
nick
why it should have been
doesn't
a
do
penalty.
anything. The nick doesn't do anything. It doesn't take the ball because Jesus could have still got the ball after that because the trajectory literally led it into Jesus. So it was a penalty, and he took him out clearly. I think there's been some debatable calls this week. I think we all saw the James Maddison one. I don't know how that. I was watching the Ref Watch program on Sky. I was like, they don't believe that themselves, do they? I know Graham Poll was on that, and he literally is the mouthpiece for the PGML, all that. But how it literally was, he turned around and punched him in the stomach. How do you? So can we do this? So if you look at the Bruno Guimaraes elbow punch, so can we have an MMA fight now on the football pitch? Pretty much certain we can now. Punch kick. I'm pretty certain we're getting there pretty much because as long as the ref says, well, it's not excessive force and it wasn't within 10, that was within 10. I'm sorry. I keep raving about the PGML on Twitter. I'm still going to do it because it's awful decision making. James Maddison should have been sent off. It should have been at least red carded, 2-game ban, etc. Because then what does that set as an example, not just for other players but for children who are watching? So what?
I feel like they rarely try actually stop bad acts in the game. Like, I feel like when there's play acting or anything like that, it's not really punished. When there's diving, it's not really punished. It's more rewarded because a player touched him slightly, and that's then the narrative to go by. Like, if you try hard enough in football, you can justify any decision you want to. It could be, it's a penalty because he touches him, but be serious.
Because the VAR has looked at it, it won't be looked at again. This is really bad decision making, really bad rule making. That should be looked at because you're talking about, what does it say about the referees? Oh, well, they're so blind that they'll get away with anything. A punch, that should have been no one is saying that's not a red card. Even Spurs fan will acknowledge that's a red card in any, because if it happened to them, they'd be up in arms. But I don't know what it is. But then, so back to the proper teams, not this riffraff. I just thought, the way we took our goals at the right time, the Trossard one was excellent. Kai Havertz in that game was just different level. And we were talking about Kai, he worked so hard. Everyone says, oh, he should be doing this, he should be doing that. Look at it I always watch with Kai Havertz, the space he makes and the intelligence. He's such an intelligent player, I've noticed. But he's starting to get into that presence of, I'm in the box, I can score goals. All of this kind of stuff. So it's all... it's all coming together for him. And I think next season we're going to see an even better Kai, because I just thought that, he got the goal on a near post run, which is what you want from any goal scorer. And then obviously Trossard, the through pass to Trossard was just top notch. And it just shows that the City game, if we just timed it right, we could have got all 3 points.
The biggest one, to be fair, was that Saka cutback. Jesus, if he goes on the other side of Akanji, he's got to tap in.
This is the thing. I like Jesus. I think Jesus is a fabulous player. Gets into so many good positions. Really does. His skill gets him, but his shot selection is pretty awful. And he acknowledges that himself. He says, I'm not a natural goal scorer. I can do certain things, but I'm not a natural goal scorer. He acknowledged that. But the Man City game, as you said, Matt, he should have had 2. And this one as well. Even in this game, in the Brighton game, he had some chances as well. It's just, how far does it take you to have a player like Jesus who really works really hard, good technique, but is not contributing enough goals to justify the money and the presence in the team? Because for me, I'd still take Martinelli, because Martinelli still does more for me in that left wing, and up front, Kai does a lot more for me in terms of opening up space for our wingers. I mean, what do you guys think?
I think for me, it's the injuries which are the biggest problem for Jesus. I think recently I've really liked his performances. We know he's not the clinical guy, but, that touch to win the penalty, the ball from Gabriel was really good. But, the touch was immaculate, direct, wins the penalty, gets us a big goal in a game, which is difficult. We should be 1-0 up, but we haven't quite taken our chances, and we get that goal from the penalty spot. And, the City game, he manufactured chances for himself while obviously completely helping out Kivior defensively, who I thought started the game, not in the best of manners. But Jesus defensively was superb. I thought, the chance creation side was really, really good. And I feel like people try get to him a bit too much sometimes. Obviously he could shoot a bit earlier or anything like that. But at the end of the day, when he's also the one who's creating those chances and also getting a shot off in the end, it becomes a bit less apparent. I think there was the pass which nearly went to Kai in the City game as well, which is another example of a chance. He had that header which he missed against Brighton. He had that first time shot which was brilliantly saved, and quite a few others. But I really do like Jesus. My biggest issue is just the injuries and his place in the team compared to obviously what we can have in terms of how football moves. We're almost at a stage where the squad is so good, the 11 is so good, and we've got very good depth players, that it will only be a few players every window who get replaced and get signed. Is he one of those? Probably not. But, you get that discussion going. Dan, what do you think about Gabby Jesus?
Man, I love him. I think that it's just, like you said, the injuries. But I do think that when he does get the few occasions we've seen him get those games behind his belt and the regular form the regular game time in a regular position, he's looked really good. But again, it's just such a small sample size almost from what we've had from him so far. And the form of Kai Havertz has really made me think and almost question the priority of how much do Arsenal really need to spend on a striker this summer, because you look at talking about hundreds, 100 odd million for Victor Osimhen. You got I know Gyökeres and Sesko have been mentioned, and lots and lots of money. But you think if Kai Havertz is playing this well and he can his availability is still just as good as it is now, how much do you actually need to splash out that kind of money on a striker that doesn't necessarily really come with guarantees that they're going to hit the ground running in the Premier League?
And to your point, Dan, don't forget, if you buy an Osimhen, you're buying a very specific type of striker, one who wants to be in the box, who doesn't really press from the front necessarily, who isn't going to build up. I don't think Arteta wants that kind of profile. I think he wants someone he can mould. I will pull out one name that I think is more and more coming to my thinking is, Evan Ferguson. Dropped off the radar. Has got that goal scoring, can be moulded. He's only 18. I mean, that's a name that if you can get a good price on him, that's for years. You've got a moldable striker who you can play alongside Havertz and really, get that British core. I think that's, if we could get a good price on it. Again, price is everything. I wouldn't pay 100 million for any of the strikers.
Especially with Tony Bloom and Brighton. You've got no guarantees of negotiating a decent price for.
No, you haven't. But he's been injury. He's injury prone.
Yeah.
But he's a project. I think we're looking at a project more than anything now. The only one I would say is not a project who we are linked with. I know people are still have scars over it, is Vlahovic, because Vlahovic still has got that profile that I quite like. He's a goal scorer. He's big. He can hold up the ball well. So I don't think we're going to go for the 100 million. I think Osimhen is. I'd be very, very surprised if Osimhen ends up at Arsenal. I just can't see us paying 120 odd million for plus wages, that kind of thing. I think we're looking at a different profile.
Yeah, I think as well. This, I think we'll almost know by the end of the season if we've had an incredible run in the Champions League and the Premier League, based off Kai Havertz's form. If he plays well and Arsenal win something, I think that will almost draw a line under it and say, look, Kai Havertz, he's a striker. Sorry, Chelsea, you couldn't work out where he played. We can. He's a forward.
We've already done that. Yeah. We've already done that. Look at the
stats. Yeah. Of course, massively. Man, it's great to see, and it's great to see Chelsea continuing to falter. Sorry, I don't know if that came through. Dodgy connection tonight. Right, let's talk about what should we talk about? Right, so Arsenal trained today, and it was the first time in a long time that they've trained with every single player out, every single player that's available to them out there training, not a single injury, which is a huge boost to have going into the run-in. Matt, how exciting is it to see that and going into such a crucial stage, still in the Champions League, well in the title race, top of the Premier League? How exciting is it to have that, full squad still available?
Very. And what for me also excites me is Arteta rotation-wise, I think has been very good recently. I think that Luton game was the perfect time to rotate, and he completely rotated. And I think that Brighton game, he still rotated a bit, maybe, a bit more than people wanted. But, we had Jorginho come back into the fold. Zinchenko kept his place, but we've got a game against Bayern Munich midweek, which we'll be talking about very shortly. Obviously, the centre-back partnership's the same and Ben White's the same, which kind of just shows the level and how valuable those guys are. And it also made me realise quite how many important players we do have. So I was speaking to my friend about this earlier. You think about Arsenal rested Rice midweek. They've rested Martinelli midweek, obviously coming back from an injury too, but they did rest him regardless. Obviously, Bukayo Saka was rested or just not in the squad, recovering from an injury. Jesus was rested midweek. And then you've still got Saliba, Ben White, Gabriel, massive, massive players who haven't been, Havertz even, how much he's played recently too. Massive, massive players who haven't even been rested. But we have too many top players and so many players in the squad that it's such a difficult job rotating every single player, so to speak. But I'm very happy with his rotation recently. And I think that Brighton lineup suggests to me we should see a different left back and a different midfielder tomorrow night, which I think is perfect. Should hopefully Martinelli comes back in the fold, but by the fact Jesus did the conference with Arteta, you potentially think that Jesus goes left, but you don't know what Arteta has up his sleeve. It's a different competition, etc. But in a nutshell, I think it's amazing that, we've got a full squad, but I also don't think it's a coincidence, so to speak. I think our injuries have either been reoccurring or they've been completely unfortunate or they've been impact injuries. We haven't really had hamstring injuries, so to speak, so far, or anything like that, or muscle injuries where, you're trying to play at 100 miles an hour. There's been a lot of games where we've taken the intensity out of things. We've gone 5 or 6-0 up. That helps a lot, after 60 minutes. You go 5 or 6-0 up against West Ham or Burnley, you don't need to go full throttle. You can take off big players and you can kind of just see the game out. Whereas other teams have been going full throttle game after game after game. And it's been a while since a game was even close for us, so to speak. But obviously the City one, which was never going to be a landslide or anything like that. So I think that just shows, how much better we're managing the squad this time round. How it's really not a coincidence that City always have their full squad available in the run-in and we have our full squad available in the run-in. And there will be chaotic games and there will be times where, there's adversity and we've got to, maybe exert more energy. Even when we went 2-0 up against Brighton, I thought that was a moment where we were trying to preserve energy too, being as pragmatic as we were. And, how good defensively I was unbelievable. But just to sum it up, it's massive that we have that full squad available. Hopefully, you don't get any injuries with obviously 2 games a week, pretty much for the rest of the season, and very high intensity and very emotionally intensive games. Of course, injuries can very much happen. You've got players carrying injuries, such as Gabriel, such as Ben White, such as Bukayo Saka. Obviously, we don't know really more than that. But hopefully, long may it continue really with having a fit squad, and it's absolutely integral at this stage of the season with the fixture list being as unforgiving as it is.
And yeah, just to ask you as well, on that left back position, Matt saying, I think we'll see a different left back against Bayern Munich. Zinchenko had that, a few moments I feel that worried me in that Brighton game. There was one moment when the ball came across the defensive line and it seemed like a, fairly routine take that he should have had where he just, pick it up and then move on with it, but he, it went over his foot and landed at the feet of a Brighton player. And you're thinking, look, if that's Mo Salah, if that's Serge Gnabry, if that's Leroy Sané, then man, we're in trouble. But do you think that someone else will come in for the Champions League game tomorrow? Based off just that left back position in particular. Do you think you'll see a Kivi or a Tomiyasu come in?
I'd assume Tomiyasu because he's the best one-on-one defender. You're talking about it's either going to be Coman or Leroy Sané. Despite what all the news was, they're not training. Of course, I don't know what it is now. They've all got this little thing where we're going to set out a fake bit of news and we're going to really make it really hard so they can't guess our lineup. You are playing your best team, please. You lost on the weekend, fair dues. You put our reserve team, but don't try and play us for patsies. They all trained, and it's going to be a full-strength side tomorrow. But you'd have to play Tomiyasu at the left back. You cannot risk Zinchenko against a Sané or a Coman. That's just, we're talking about, as you said, Dan, against Brighton. No disrespect, but they're lesser level below players. And he still makes these mistakes, and we got away with it. We won't get away with it against a Sané or a Gnabry or whoever plays that left wing, that right wing position, because top level, They don't do that. They eat on the mistakes. And the fact is that Tommy and Kivior, I think for me, Kivior has not done anything wrong. But if we're talking about who is the better defender, it's Tomiyasu by a mile. He's so quick. He's so aware of everything. Obviously, the first choice, I think we can all acknowledge the first choice, if the fully fit squad had been from the start of the season, would have been Yuri Timber. I think what we saw from the start was just an unbelievable unicorn player who such a unique subset of skills, can go into the midfield, can bomb forward, can play all those game states, as Matt said at the start. He can do whatever you need him to do. So I am looking forward to seeing him eventually. But I think for this game, you want to play Tomiyasu just because of his one-on-one defending. You want to be solid. The Champions League, again, you're playing against the big teams. You don't want to have... Zinchenko always is a bit of a problem for me because he's got a good skill set in terms of he can control the game and he can pass well, etc. But the facts don't lie. I think about 70% of the goals that have gone against us have come from the left-hand side. The facts don't lie. They come from his area because he's not good one-on-one. I think Rohan put a very good tweet out recently, and George did as well, about one-on-ones is not his strong point. And I think we can all acknowledge that. As soon as who's there, right? Dingra, when Dingra got the ball, drove at Zinchenko, he was backing off. And you're like, this ain't gonna end well. And luckily, Dingra couldn't finish. But a Gnabry, Sane, or a Coman are going to eat that chance alive. That's just the fact. So you have to meet Tomiyasu. I'd be very surprised if Zinchenko came in. I'd also think that, Jorginho, I'd be really surprised if he starts this game, given that he's got a foot injury that restricts him from playing 90 minutes consistently. So I'd assume Thomas Partey. You'd assume Thomas Partey. Other than that, I think the squad speaks for himself. I think it's going to be Jesus or Martinelli, where, how does that one shake out? But it's really good to see the squad back in. I'm going to give you my conspiracy theory, though. I love a good conspiracy theory. Gary O'Driscoll. Gone to Man United. Gone to Man United. Injuries. Who was injured yesterday? McTominay all of a sudden injured in the warm-ups, Oh, I love a good conspiracy theory. You got your new doctor here, fully fit squad. When was the last time we had a fully fit squad with Gary O'Driscoll? Can you name it at all?
No. I feel like...
Do you
know what it is, though? Not to curse it, but I feel like it might have been the game against Fulham at Craven Cottage last season, and that was a game when Saliba got his back injury. But not to jinx it or anything, but,
I'm just putting my conspiracy theory forward because...
No, yeah.
To be fair, I do think... I'm sure all Arsenal fans watched that game between Liverpool and United on Sunday, and the distances their players have to cover is probably one of the most absurd things I've ever seen. Mainu's, playing almost like a number 9 type position, and then he's got to be expected to be the complete opposite end of the pitch. It's absolutely bonkers. But yeah.
You know what? I think we were all Man United fans yesterday, weren't we? We can all admit that yesterday.
Did you see Rash tweet?
Yeah, I did. But I think every Arsenal fan was like, what are we watching? Because we're so blessed. Yeah. You know what? I said, we're so blessed to watch what we do. Defensive organisation and playing decent football. Honestly, Casemiro, some of these players I don't know how they're being rated. Casemiro, honestly, that Real Madrid squad was carrying him. I'm sorry, either he's regressed really, 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 really badly, or he was being covered so much at Real Madrid because the passing, just some of the passing, didn't even run back. It just boggles me how Man United supporters can be getting so gassed about certain players. Fernandes is so ordinary. I know he scored that great goal, but my God, some of the passing was so bad. And I know Rashford is Rashford. He doesn't press at all. So Liverpool should have been far away clear, but I'm glad. And it just shows you, look, the game against Man United, I know we're all getting really hyped and we're going to say, look, we're going to beat them, etc. Never take anything for granted against United side because you've got to take your chances. Otherwise, they will get into the game at some point, and they are decent on the counter. So, but the thing is that back to the fully fit squad. I think we're all, to Matt's point as well. Last season, we were so gung-ho. Every game was full intensity. Bang, 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 bang. This season, and I said at the start of it, and I don't know if we mentioned it on the podcast, one of the podcasts, we're so much more measured. Our game is not about overexerting ourselves. It's about clever movement, organization, and making sure we're in the right place. We very rarely see our players come off the pitch going, it's more of a case of mentally. This is the thing. This is what Mikel Arteta has done to them now. He's drilled them into these various game states where we can change every time, and they're tuned it to such a perfection that games are now looking not, I wouldn't say easy, but manageable. That's what City were good at. They were good at being able to manage their game state and being able to suffocate teams, rotate the ball out, and give it, make sure that they're not fresh, but they haven't overexerted themselves. Last season, we gave everything in the first half, and then we looked dead on our feet usually.
I think it's all in the structure as well. Like you look at, you think about Ødegaard and Havertz, who are probably two of the hardest workers in the Arsenal side. Obviously, every player works incredibly, incredibly hard. But those two, they're not covering, from their own box to the opposition box. They're covering from their own box to, rotating in between the fullbacks to the middle of the pitch. They're not going deeper than that. So it's sustainable in the sense that, obviously, the amount of football they've been playing, I don't exactly want them to be playing as much as they have been, rotating wise and stuff like that. But sustainably wise, because we almost boxed the side in, you're only really playing on a one half pitch. You're not talking about playing a full pitch where you're making last ditch runs all the time or last ditch recoveries or anything like that. Even, Saliba or Gabriel, when they're really high up, they pick and choose when to go really high up. And because we dominate the ball so often and we win second ball so often, it's not a case where they're having to run up and down all the time. It's a case of obviously being high up, but completely just suffocating the opposition. And if they do have to do runs of, pressing the opposition out, then they go as a team. So it's collective effort and it's not an individual absurd amount of running.
And also, to that point, at the end of the Brighton game, I thought we managed that really well. 3-0, what did we do? We didn't go gung-ho, sat back a little bit, play a bit of a half pace, let them come on to us. We still kept them at arm's length. I wasn't worried at all in that last the last 15 minutes. We were just like this, batting them away. It's like that little kid, when someone's shorter than you and you're like, there you go, just stay there. It's that kind of mentality. And I just thought that's really good management. To just turn it down a little bit. There's no point. 3-0 against Brighton is a really, really good result. And then I
think it's quite similar to the Luton game in a way too. We went 2-0 up, and obviously we had a rotated side, but arguably it could have been a game to try and get even more of a goal difference advantage. But equally, you've got to look at the bigger picture and not just completely run your players out, or even in the case of players like Smith Rowe and stuff, you don't want them running an absurd amount when they've just come back into the team for the first time and then they get injured again. You don't want that to happen. So it's all about sustainability, consistency, and quite how good the system is and how effective the players are with the system.
Yeah, finding that balance indeed. Gentlemen, it's come to that time in the show, we've got to talk Champions League, and that means we need to have a bit of a change in theme, I think. We need a change in...
That's what that was.
I was wondering what you're doing.
No, we need a change in the visual. So, I mean, let's make it, that's meant to be the Champions League trophy. There we go.
I like it. It's got a nice touch of elegance, Dan. I like it. It's got a nice touch of elegance to it.
Hey, the elegance was here when you were here, yeah. Don't worry about me. Right, let's talk about it then. Arsenal versus Bayern Munich. Man, I'm so excited for it.
Go.
All right, Matt. Tell me afterwards. Arsenal versus Bayern Munich, Champions League. Man, it's so exciting. The atmosphere is going to be crazy. The game is going to be, I think it's going to be a bit raucous. I think in the Emirates, games of this magnitude, European games of this magnitude, haven't been played there for years. And I think the last time I can remember a game, in Europe this much hype was probably the Atletico Madrid semi-final at the Emirates. Of course, Arsenal had that season when they made the Europa League final when they had Valencia there. But when you've got a real giant in Europe come to your home, and you've got someone like Bayern Munich come in, and it's going to be 60,000 Arsenal fans cheering the team on. no Bayern Munich fans because of their ban from Europe. Well, not banned from Europe, but the fans not being allowed in because of the pyrotechnics thrown on the pitch or something like that. My seats are actually in where the Bayern Munich fans would have been sat, by the way. So it'll be interesting for me sat in the Arsenal away end for a first time. But yeah, Arsenal versus Bayern Munich. Just talk to me about it, man. Talk to me about how you're feeling ahead of it. What do you think the game will hold?
I'm excited, nervous. I think we all are, because this is us back at the top table of Europe where we should have been for years. We've missed out 14 years. It's been too long. Would I have liked someone else in the quarters? Yes, because we've played Bayern Munich way too many times, and I would have liked someone like Real Madrid. That's my personal preference. But massive tie with historical significance on it. We have got history with this team. They've beaten us quite convincingly for a number of years, didn't they? 5-1s were the norm. Not the same anymore. Bayern Munich are a different side now. Still one of the best sides in Europe. Can't take that away from them. They have got the pedigree, they've got the squad. But they are not the same anymore. They're not the same giant as what they were, and we are not the same club. We're not this timid, technical, small player club which we're going to be intimidated by a larger team who are bigger and more muscular. We are that team as well. We can go toe to toe. This has got all the elements. It's just got that perfect mix of a crackling atmosphere, because obviously it's all Arsenal. Then you've got Harry Kane, the protagonist there, because obviously he's got that North London connection. You've got Eric Dyer there as well, but Harry Kane is the main focus. And it's got everything about it. Are we at that level now where we can go to, where we can look at Bayern Munich and we're not scared anymore? Because for years, I think all Arsenal fans can acknowledge, when we played Bayern Munich, it wasn't even a contest. At no point was it a contest. We are expecting tomorrow to be a contest because we are much better. We've got the squad. Bayern are not who they were. They've still got quality players, so let's not underestimate them. But we should be giving them a game. And that's all you can ask in the Champions League, because we are now at the stage where we're dealing with the top of the top teams. There's no teams in there who are a level below. This is what we wanted. So can Mikel and the boys go and do the business? I think they can. I think it's going to be a massive atmosphere, but it's going to come down to, as everyone has acknowledged, we need to get goals. We need to score. We need to keep them out, because going to the Allianz is not going to be easy. And we also know, given that their fans should not be in the stadium, I say should, God knows if they, but we need to we need to take advantage of everything that we've got with us. They say there's a few injuries. I doubt that, but I think the players are obviously in a bit of a weird space at the moment. They're not going to win the Bundesliga, which is the norm for them. They're not performing at the level. Tuchel is not the coach they want, clearly. I think Bayern, the team, have pretty much said they know Tuchel's going. They don't really want to perform for him. But it's a big game. The Champions League is all they've got. So I expect them to turn up. But I want us to turn up. This is a big, massive tie. And I'm so looking forward to I'm looking forward to everything. The game, seeing all you lot. It's one of those games that I've missed. The Champions League music in a meaningful game against the big team. Now, I honestly can't wait. As I said, my mind has been so distracted through the day. It's just got everything about it that I want in a big European tie. I'm so grateful that we're here, because again, we've not had it for 14 years, and it makes you appreciate what it is more and more, and that you don't want to lose it. So yeah, I'm just absolutely buzzing for it. I can't wait for the atmosphere. I can't wait for the football. Look, the fact is, we may lose this tie. We're going up against a massive team. This is what we wanted. Why are we not? Arsenal fans should be absolutely going nuts, saying this. We want these big ties. If we lose and go out to a better team, fair enough. But we are a good team as well, and we should be giving a game bare minimum, and we should be in line to try and get through the tie and win it, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I think if you've got ambitions to win the Champions League, which shouldn't sound silly to say, bearing in mind they're in the quarterfinals now, then you've absolutely got to be winning the home tie against a team like this. Just looking at Bayern Munich, Matt, we'll come to you in a second on this, but looking in the Bundesliga, Bayer Leverkusen, what a season! 16 points clear of Bayern Munich at the moment after 28 games. and Bayern are actually joint level on points with Stuttgart on 60
That's
points.
you'd
Go on,
never
sorry.
think that a couple of years ago, would you? Granit
No.
Xhaka's gone there to stop Harry Kane winning a cup. That's winning a trophy. It's perfect.
Yeah,
Do you know, it's perfect.
yeah.
I can't. You knew that there was a plan there. I knew Mikel didn't let Xhaka go for no reason. He knew what he was doing. Mikel, no, trust the process. Trust the process.
Oh yeah, man! But that Bayer Leverkusen team is incredible. Granit Xhaka, like you said, and of course, I mean, it probably won't be as much of a reference for Arsenal fans, but Nathan Teller, I covered him at Southampton. I've had the pleasure of meeting him, speaking to him, and doing an interview of him, and to see him when he could have joined Burnley and got relegated. They wanted to sign him, could have joined Burnley. He could have potentially made the difference for Southampton in a promotion campaign to the Premier League, but he's gonna be winning the Bundesliga. If they win their next game, then they will win the Bundesliga.
I think
Um,
I can't see them. They can't implode. They
incredible
can't
story.
implode.
It's an incredible story. And yeah, if they win the next game, they win it. So mental. Dortmund, by the way, just looking at the table, they're fifth at the moment in the Bundesliga, not really having a very good season. But Bayern Munich, they're who Arsenal were playing. And as Jem said, this is, in the last 3 games against Bayern Munich, Arsenal have lost 5-1. So, it doesn't make for good reading there. This is the 5th Champions League campaign in which Arsenal and Bayern have met each other in the knockout stages. Bayern have progressed each time. So again, the stats and the previous record don't make for good reading. But Yem said, this is a very different Arsenal. Matt, how are you feeling heading into this game? I mean, it was just exciting enough for me, for Arsenal fans when the Champions League music's back on at the Emirates at the first game of the season. Who was it against? I can't remember. The game was against the first Champions League one.
PSV, I think.
PSV
PSV.
Eindhoven, maybe. Yeah.
PSV.
And
4-0.
clips are going viral for Arsenal's fans just singing the Champions League music, and everyone was just so excited. And then, like Yem said, it's coming to the stage now where it's, the Champions League music's there in a game that means something. It means something against a big team like this. Raul's saying tomorrow's a must-win, can't be going to Germany having to win in the game. And Luke said similar earlier as well. You don't want to go to the Allianz needing a win. Matt, when you've seen how disciplined Arsenal have been in away performances, the Manchester City game, the Brighton game, keeping clean sheets, the amount of clean sheets that Arsenal have kept since the turn of the year is just ridiculous. How much do you think that puts Arsenal in good stead if they can get a result tomorrow against Bayern, that they can go to the Allianz? And although it's a bit of an unknown entity, do you have confidence that they can, get over the line, make sure they can go there and, really shut up shop and stop Bayern from scoring?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one. I think, you look at the defensive powerhouse Arsenal have become, and it's almost just such a fairy tale, story, considering, all the accusations over the years of Arsenal having a soft underbelly and getting physically done in any away game we played or anything like that. So for that narrative to be completely flipped on its head is pretty unbelievable. And to the extent it's been flipped on its head is honestly slightly unfathomable. Like, we're not even conceding, just general long range shots or anything. But like, you look at Enciso's shot on the weekend, he had to do Saka and White, I think 3 or 4 times to just get a clean shot on goal. It wasn't, one touch and he's hit it. He had to do 2 of our players a good 3 or 4 times to even get a chance on goal. And that just demonstrates quite how resolute and resilient we are. João Pedro had a shot as well, and Gabriel put in an unbelievable block, and it's just so difficult to get even a long range shot off against us. And when you have that level of defensive ability, it gives you confidence going into any game, really. I think the Emirates first leg, I like it quite a lot. I think it gives us the chance to not play with stage fright, so to speak, or to be overly scared, and just to enjoy the occasion and go for it. But also equally, being the defensive powerhouse we are, a game like Bayern at home, you don't want it to get too emotionally invested, and then, you become a bit more vulnerable than you want to. And I think it's for a neutral, I think it's set up unbelievably well. The fact that Bayern can't win the Bundesliga, but they're one Leverkusen win away from the title being entirely done. And that's an unknown field for Bayern in itself. So on one hand, I think a lot of people expect Arsenal to roll Bayern over, but on the other hand, it's a very dangerous game playing a team who have absolutely nothing else to play for and know their season practically rides completely on this. The manager itself, as you said, I think there was a quote from Tuchel earlier saying he thrives being the underdog and he wants to use this game against Arsenal as an opportunity to show, he is the guy for them and Bayern can surprise teams and stuff like that. And it's crazy to be talking about Bayern in this light at all, considering the team and the level of players and their dominance domestically and in their country for however long. But I don't want to say I don't like it, so to speak, but I don't overly like the fact the Bundesliga is already done, more or less, by the time we're playing them. I don't like the fact the narrative's kind of flipped from Arsenal, like all Bayern, it's a massive, massive team, obviously with a lot of pedigree and stuff like that, to wow, Arsenal are absolutely flying and Bayern are absolutely struggling. I think they lost to, I can't remember who it was, Darmstadt. I'm not sure, I might be wrong there, on the weekend. And, the narrative is just flipped and it almost adds an unknown entity. How do you do when you are the favourites to win, like that Porto game? So I do wonder if the game becomes a bit more pragmatic than expected. I'm sure Arsenal will try, go at Bayern very early. But I do wonder if Bayern, and Tuchel particularly shown how pragmatic he can be and how effective he can be, particularly against Pep in the final against City, obviously. So I do wonder if he goes for a bit more of a pragmatic approach, considering how much rides on this game.
But can
And
Bayern Munich play pragmatic? They're not. The team is not really set up for it, is it?
not overly, but just, the point of it being a one-off game where they know if they don't lose tomorrow night, they're in a favourable position to progress going to the Allianz Arena. Of course, they had to overturn the 1-0 deficit to Lazio. But yeah, it's difficult to say, as you say, can they play that way? They can't, they can't emulate what they did at Chelsea, so to speak. I think Pavlovic, I can't say I've watched him, as the midfielder who was a doubt for the game, but seemingly is trained and will make it. As you mentioned, all these players make it, but he's seemingly the big technical guy in that midfield, or the guy who, Bayern are quite reliant on. And you do look at that midfield and they don't really have the ability to play pragmatic, so to speak, as you say. But I just think they know full well that they cannot afford to get blown away at the Emirates tomorrow. And they know Arsenal will be right up for it, flying with confidence, sold out Emirates Stadium, plus no away fans. It's going to be difficult for them. And it's going to be very difficult for us because football's not played on paper. And, a competition, obviously, we've notoriously very much struggled in, a team we've notoriously struggled in, not to let that affect us. And, just to do what we can do. And the style will be different from the Premier League, so to speak. But as you said, Yim, it's a game which all fans should just be relishing, really. And it's great to be, on this stage. Arsenal are, I'd say, favourites to go through, with everything going on at the minute at Bayern, which is a crazy thing to say, as I say. But at the end of the day, it's difficult. And, how do Arsenal do being the team who people expect, so to speak, to blow Bayern away or to take an advantage at the Emirates? And I think if we do take a 2-0 or a 3-1 or a 4-1 or anything like that to the Allianz, we're in a brilliant position. A one goal,
3-4-1.
It's tough. I'm
3-4-1 would be
saying
nice. Yeah.
Difference. But
Of course. And the game they lost was against Heidenheim, by the way, and then it was Dortmund. They lost to Dortmund the week before. Just before we carry on, by the way, there's 350 legends tuned in. Thank you so much to everyone that is tuned in. Any subscribes to the YouTube channel. If you're watching on Twitter, then if you click under where you're watching at the moment, there's a link to subscribe to us on YouTube. So if you can do that, that is really appreciated from all of us here. Arsenal Bayern Munich tomorrow. The game that they played against Heidenheim, just a few players just to kind of take note of. Jamal Musiala is an incredible player, someone definitely to watch out for. Their front four was Harry Kane as a striker, Serge Gnabry on the left, Thomas Muller on the right. Strange Instagram activity, by the way. I don't know if anyone's seen his Instagram post. Was a bit weird the other day. Matt, did you see it?
I think I did. It was not a speech, so to speak, but something like, "We're not favourites going into the game against Arsenal, but we're."
Well, he's done a little team talk. Picture of him on maybe a golf course. I'm not too sure. I don't know if you guys can see that. Probably not. No, I'm not going to worry. He said, "Oh yeah, with my added poor quality, probably doesn't help." But a picture of him's going like that on a golf course, looking very, very lemon, keeping it Java. He said, 2 days till we face Arsenal. It's honestly a tough moment for us. This was after their defeat to Heidenheim. After back-to-back defeats in the Bundesliga, our confidence seemed to be pretty low. We should take this situation as a chance to surprise everyone at the big stage against the Gunners. It's not the moment to give up. Let's go, boys. Fire emoji, flexing emoji. Interesting.
Is this the same Thomas Muller who literally used to give it big to us every time?
Yeah.
I'm going to say, can he just leave us alone? I know we're playing your team, but just leave. No, I'm joking. It's completely fair enough.
It's interesting.
It's intriguing because it's not the Bayern Munich I know. Because Bayern Munich literally would never say anything. They just turn up, batter us, and then go off.
Yeah.
They're talking in these respects. Is it just to try and G the fans up and just say, look, we're in it for something?
I think they've had a truly disastrous season by their accounts. And obviously the coach is under a lot of pressure. There's a lot of question marks all round about, maybe even players' futures. The likes of Davies is seemingly off to Real Madrid, or you'd expect, leaves in the summer. Obviously Musiala, you've got top players like that. You have to have a good future for them and a top future, not just a good one, because players like that will be wanted by all sorts of clubs around Europe. So there's that pressure as well. There's the pressure of the league, and it's a big pressure as well tomorrow, knowing that they have that home game first. I'm sure not damage the limitation, so to speak, but if they can keep it to a very minimum for themselves, then obviously they know going to the Allianz second leg, they can fancy themselves.
Thing is that, look, attacking-wise, they are a top team. The defence is their biggest worry because, let's be frank, any team with Derek Dyer in the central defence, you've got serious concerns.
Yeah. Well, they had, for the last game, they had Kim and Upamecano as their centre-back pairing. And I can't say I know much about...
saying they were going to play Dyer and De Ligt because they didn't improve.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if that's true
please,
or not. I do not know if that's true. I thought it was relevant.
Please play them, please.
Yeah.
Honestly, please play them.
Eric Dyer would get a fantastic reception on his return to North London. I can guarantee it.
After he scored another own goal.
Oh, yeah. All the Arsenal fans will be cheering his name. They love him so much.
Honestly, I would love it. I would love it. I'd love him to play.
Oh, yeah. Well, him and Kane, they'll get a great reception. Rahul said he reckons it's mind games. Shout out to Aaron, who's tuned in as well. I know Aaron's been doing a lot of stuff down at Colney, or the Sober Reality Training Centre, I should say, this season. So keep up the great work, Aaron. And what, sorry?
Unbeaten since that name was changed.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Do you know what I actually did today? I not to be disrespectful, but actually I had to Google what sober reality was, just out of interest. But I mean, that's Arsenal's. That's exactly what the deal between Arsenal and them do. You want people to, exactly.
But on another point, Dan, this is what we want for our team, that we've got these deals. We keep saying the marketing is shoddy. But if you look at it, the Emirates deal next year will include our reserve kits as well. So that's a big thing as well. The money goes up. So this is what I always say about, success. Success equates to more money. It doesn't equate to the more successful, the further we go, the more you invest, the better we're going to be. Because with a manager like Arteta, that investment that you're making, so say like the 105 million we made, has instantly improved our team. The 65 million you've put into Havertz has not instantly improved the team, but it's improved the team now. So it's it's a little bit off topic, but I think it's the direction we're going is great. We need more because I think there's still more scope to do bigger deals and be the true dominant power in terms of financials. Because if we can progress further in the Champions League, win things, etc., then sponsors are going to say, well, I just want to go to Arsenal particularly because we're going to get the big Champions League recognitions, etc. But back to Bayern Munich, I mean, their attacking force is something we're going to have to manage. We're talking about the elite level attackers, that's for sure. I think their defense is very much their Achilles heel at the moment. I think there's a debate about, is Joshua Kimmich really at the level that they want him to be, because Tuchel wants to play him as a defensive midfielder, which he's not. So it'll be interesting to see how Tuchel sets up if he does go, as you said, guys, pragmatic, very defensive, low blocking almost. Or
Porto,
is he going to?
You'd expect they not try emulate Porto, so to speak, but Tuchel's a very pragmatic coach. He showed that at Chelsea. Obviously, he showed a lot of offensive greatness at his previous German clubs. I can't say I've really seen it at Bayern. Not, in a good or bad way, I just haven't watched them. But, he's not stupid. He knows that they've got to tread very carefully tomorrow night to not, do anything stupid and let the game get out of their reach too quickly, which I'm sure they won't because they know how much.
I think Arteta knows the same as well. I think Arteta sets up very differently in the Champions League. I don't think it's going to be a gung-ho game. I think it'd be very bad to say we're going to play gung-ho. I think there's going to be another measured approach. It's going to be like the Porto game where you try and feel out what Bayern Munich are. I don't think Bayern Munich can do a low block in the same manner. I think Bayern Munich, Porto's credit, they played the dark arts very, very, very well. I can't see Bayern Munich doing the same thing. They're not trained in that way, in that kind of dark arts, pull the shirt, drop them off. They want to play expansive. They've got players who want to play through and attack. That may suit our game perfectly because actually you let them onto us and then we'll break on you with some power, pace, etc. Saka, Martinelli, Jesus. So, do you know, it's fascinating. This game tomorrow's got so many fascinating elements. Who's going to blink first? Is it are the old Bayern going to come out and absolutely batter us? I can't see it, but it's another piece of the story, effectively.
Yeah, I'm super excited for it. Boys, we will finish with our 11. We'll go for the game and then some score predictions. So we won't go too much longer. Sam, man, I feel for you. He's still on the exchange. Do you know what it is? I've been there when you have to have sessions on the exchange, and it's not.
Tomorrow,
It's not right. It's basically 9 to 5s on the exchange. Where's the payback?
Clocking in for a shift.
Tomorrow is usually on the days when you get some spares come up.
Yeah,
so
you'd
I
think
would say
so.
Don't lose hope.
Yeah, but I know Sam said I said that to Sam tonight, but he said that he wants a dagger on the exchange tonight. So yeah, I hope he found something.
2 o'clock. 2 o'clock. Click,
yeah.
Refresh.
Wake up in the middle of the night.
Yeah. Right. Let's do our 11 for the game, lads, and then some score predictions. So, it's interesting because for the first time, really, bar probably Timber because he's not going to start. We can pick from any player within the squad really to who's going to play in this game. Let's reconvene. Bear with me 1 second. Let's bring us all back together. There we go. So for the first time, we can really kind of look at the whole squad as to who can start. I will also change the background back to that so you don't just get the Getty Images credit. There you go. So I mean, if we go through the team then, in goal, Sam's still best of luck, my friend. So in goal, David Raya. David Raya is going to start. It's not going to be any different there. We don't
100%. But I just want to add a tiny bit of praise onto him because he deserves a bit of praise. I thought that game against Brighton, he was absolutely integral. His composure on the ball. Brighton are a really good high pressing side and they're really intelligent how they play out too. So for us to be, controlled on the ball and not rash or anything like that, I thought that was his best game in a while. Not that he's been bad, but I thought that was a really, really good game from him on the ball and then made that brilliant, brilliant save from Enciso.
Really good save, yeah. I got some. I don't know if you guys saw I tweeted it, but I got some momentarily flashbacks to the Porto away game when it was pretty much exactly the same shot. It was exactly the same shot, but he made the save, which is great. But yeah, so in goal, David Raya. I think he's really starting to grow amongst the fan base as well. A lot of people are much more accepting of him. You still get a few that are still like, Ramsdale should be there, but I think he's after that penalty shootout in the Champions League last time. I think that won a lot of people round, myself included, if I'm being honest. But yeah, so then defensively, I think the first three kind of speak for themselves. You've got Ben White, you've got Saliba and Gabriel. Those guys aren't going to change, in my opinion. Been excellent all season, and Ben White, another really interesting read from Sammy Mockbell that came out on, I don't know if you guys saw
Brilliant.
it, on Ben White and who he is, and it's just a really, really interesting read. So I do encourage people to check that out if they get the chance to, just talking about Ben White and who he is as a person, what he's been through, and a bit more of the inside track on what happened out in Qatar.
I
But yeah,
will
give
say,
that a read.
I will say on that Qatar one, there is obviously, I don't think it's been mentioned. There is a specific thing that if everyone knew it, it would
Yeah,
instantly turn opinions, because it's
yeah,
no one knows what the real reason. I know obviously what it is, and
mm,
it
sure.
that he's getting the flack he's getting is not fair on
Mm.
the
Yeah,
invite.
regardless, I think with a lot of things, it's not fair, the flack that he's getting. But yeah, for sure, I can understand if there is a deeper point to that. But yeah, so Ben White, excellent this season. Saliba Gabriel, left back. There's a bit of a conversation to be had because Zinchenko started against Brighton, started against Luton. I wouldn't play in this game. I would probably play one of Kivi or Tomiyasu, and I'm going to let you guys decide who we pick. So, Matt. Have it out. Who's it going to be? Kivi or
I think
Tomiyasu?
we've.
I'll come to. I'll go on, Matt. Go on, Matt. I'll go to you first.
I was gonna say. I was gonna say. I think we'll both agree. Might be wrong, but I think
Go on.
Takahiro.
Yeah, I agree. Tomiyasu. I said it before. 1-on-1 against those defenders, you want your best 1-on-1 defender, and he's that. But again, it's all about him being fit.
Mm,
If he's fit every game, he will start every game pretty much now. I'm convinced.
yeah. I mean, yeah. No, he's. I guess the only slight concern might be a little bit of lack of match fitness. I wouldn't have any issues with Kivior being there because he's been so good and was really good in the last Champions League game. But you
Yeah, I
think,
mean, I'd want someone who is more defensive in this game, because you can see
mm,
why we played Zinni against Brighton. You want that control. And Luton, again, with all due respect to Luton, it's the kind of game where you're not going to get as much attacking threat from the other team. But this one's completely different.
Exactly what Aaron said in the chat. It's literally,
yeah,
if it does turn out to be quite a pragmatic game, then that's even more so. If it turns into a transition game, which I don't think it will, then that's even more so. Second balls, everything like that. He's integral.
The transition's actually really important, because I noticed what I liked about our defenders. All our defenders, the two fullbacks, Tomiyasu and Ben White, can alternate. So if we're done on the counter, then whoever's back is not going to be unfamiliar in the position they're in. If they're on the left hand side, they're not going to be unfamiliar. So it makes it more dynamic in terms of we can defend better as a unit, and I think it's more of a unit when it's got Tomiyasu in there. So for me, Tomiyasu, I'd be very shocked if he wasn't starting.
sure. Okay, moving into midfield, Declan Rice, and that is the question. So we'll say, Tomiyasu on the left back. Sorry, and then moving into midfield, you've got Declan Rice and someone, and it's either going to be and Jorginho or and Thomas Partey. And I think I'd be inclined to prefer maybe Thomas Partey in this game, just because I think he's got some more minutes under his belt, and I think in the game at the Etihad, that pass he made into Odegaard, take two players out of the game, between the lines straight away, was something that created that chance for Trossard that could have been played across to Martinelli, and it was Arsenal's one of Arsenal's big chances in that game. And I think that's what Thomas Partey gives you. And Jorginho, I think, went a little bit missing in that game. And I think he's been excellent, and I'm a big Jorginho fan, but I just feel for this game, now Thomas Partey's coming back and he's got minutes under his belt and he's not just playing it straight out for throw-ins. I think he comes back in for this game here. Matt, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I personally don't think Jorginho starts. I think it's between either Partey or him going back to Havertz in midfield, which I hope he doesn't do, particularly with Havertz's form. But I don't think Jorginho starts. I think I saw is he carrying an injury? I might be wrong there, but it's important to manage his fitness as well. And what I was saying about the rotation side, if what I'm thinking of is right, then Zinchenko and Jorginho play against Brighton, who are a very technical side. Obviously, I'm not saying Bayern aren't, obviously not. But then Tomiyasu comes in for the transitional side of the game, and then Thomas Partey comes in as well, because you've got Declan Rice for. I mean, it's just it's rotation really. It's obviously, as you say, Partey's got some minutes under his belt, and I don't really think Arteta will go for anything different, unless, if, as I say, he opted for Havertz in midfield. But I'd be confused if he did that given Kai's form in up front.
And yeah, you feel Thomas Partey would be the go-to for that position?
Yeah, I think you want look. Jorginho is a fantastic player, does really well, but he's carrying an injury. He's carrying a foot injury, which it means you have to have an operation at the end of the season. But the fact is that you want someone who's a bit more physical. You want that physicality against that midfield: Goretzka, Pavlovic, Kimmich, particularly if they're in the midfield. But he can play the line splitting passes. I don't think he'll play the full 90 because I don't think he can last the full 90. But you want him at the start to provide that physicality into the midfield and allow Declan Rice to move forward without having a concern about, okay, we're going to be broke on and we won't have that reassurance. For me, if he's fully fit, again, Partey would start most games for me because despite all the issues and all the extra stuff, he is still a world-class player when fit. And you need world-class players against a world-class team tomorrow in Bayern Munich. So I would think Partey starts, given that he didn't even come on the pitch in the Brighton game. So that just leads me to believe, look, we're going to save his legs and put him for a significant period into the Bayern Munich game.
I think what's interesting, just to mention on Thomas Partey, the fact he did start against Luton is intriguing to me. Whether Arteta wanted to, rotate Rice a bit more, obviously to not completely play every single minute, but he just never got the chance to. Because obviously Jorginho as a lone six was entirely different to Partey as a lone six. He needs someone alongside him, which is not a weakness of him, so to speak. By the way, that's just how it is. Is covering for any vulnerabilities he has, and just how he works better in a two, which is completely fine. But it does make me think that potentially Partey is someone who he wanted to play a lot more and Rice to be rested more than has been the case. And maybe next season, Partey gets replaced and someone like Onana, who's been touted around, is, of that template.
Yeah. Okay, so Partey and Rice in midfield. Interesting as well, yeah. What do you think of the Declan Rice as a number 8, so to speak? Not necessarily as the lone holding six. Do you like Rice in that kind of slightly more advanced position, or do you think that what's your opinions on that? Because I know a lot of people have been kind of saying that they're not as much of a fan of it.
I don't mind it because at least it gives you an option. But the thing is that are you detrimenting the number 6 by playing someone who's not who doesn't do what Declan Rice does? Now, with all due respect to Jorginho, if you play to Matt's point, Jorginho is a single pivot. No, it won't work. You're taking away from what Jorginho is. Partey has played the pivot, so he's more used to it. So I'm not opposed to if it's Declan and Partey. In theory, they're both so good and they can both interchange that you would not notice, and it'd be one or the other going forward. So I think it's a case. I think Mikel wanted both of them there. I think the plan was that they had both of them there and that he could rotate them in and out. Hasn't happened this season, but I think it gives Declan the chance to go forward. I don't think he'll go forward all the time. I think tomorrow's game is just that kind of game still that you still want that defensive solidity. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes forward a little bit, just to supplement. But I think Declan's got so much talent that I think he can do both. But I think obviously you still want that defensive solidity, especially in the big European games. And I think Arteta plays a more pragmatic approach in these games. You saw it in the Porto game. He was much more defensive. So I expect that tomorrow, but don't count out Declan popping up in the box and making a chance here or there.
Yeah, wouldn't mind a cheeky Declan Rice goal on tomorrow night.
Who doesn't like
and
a
also,
Declan Rice goal?
Oh man, you love him. And then you've also got the opportunity of, if you need to, you can switch like you did in the Porto game, put Declan Rice as the lone 6 and then change the midfield system, to bring Havertz into midfield and Odegaard and another, Jesus up front, Trossard up front. You've got options to change it around with Declan Rice. That's what's so good about him. Number 10 position, so to speak, Martin Odegaard. Or right hand 8. Martin Odegaard's in there.
He actually got, what was it, 5 minutes rest? He got 5 minutes. He came off with 5 minutes to come off. What this recharge? That's 100% charge, isn't it? As in he can recharge to 100%, can't he? I don't know how why is that man being given? Honestly, because he's. Is there a point at which he actually slows down during a game in terms of starting the press?
No.
He's such a rare player too. With his he's the type of player where when you watch him in person, you appreciate him even more than when you watch him on the TV. And as you say, the work rate and everything like that, he just leads by example. What
He's
you know,
so
not
elegant.
I think the thing is, everyone's compares him to De Bruyne. He's not De Bruyne. De Bruyne is a
No.
fantastic player with vision and passing of a different level. But Erdegaard is a different level in that De Bruyne, with all due respect, won't work a tenth as hard as Erdegaard does for the team. He is what he is. And the level of control and being the metronome. I think he's a metronome more than anything in our system, to keep the ball moving and keep things ticking over and finding space and passes. And that's what you want out of him. You know, he does give off fantastic assists, no doubt. But the role he's being asked to play at the moment is that of a facilitator within the team to get us up the pitch, to keep things moving over, find space, find pockets, find Saka, find Ben White, find, the next person to move the ball along.
Yeah, he's so elegant, and when you're chasing a game as well, if you actually watch him when in the stadium when you're chasing a game, it's such a it's a sight to behold, to be honest. Right wing Bukayo Saka. Any kind of doubts with that? Obviously, he's been in and out of fitness, but I think you just play Bukayo Saka in these games. Agree with me there?
Again, he got rested as well. They're trying to
Yeah,
restrict his minutes as much as possible, which I think is a good thing. Again, if the Euros weren't this summer, I'd say you have to let him rest fully because it's just too much. You can tell he's still carrying something. I don't know. I don't think he gets any rest at all. And the problem is, you still want to play him because, unfortunately, who else is going to take his position? It's one of the big. That's one of the big conundrums for this window. You need some kind of reserve player for Bukayo Saka because it's not fair to him to be playing every single minute of every single game, being kicked. When does he not come off hobbling effectively? You can see it.
Yeah. Literally, yeah. So Bukayo Saka on the right wing, and then left wing is where it's interesting because Gabriel Martinelli, now he's made a few appearances off the bench, look like he's getting back there or thereabouts. Leandro Trossard can be so clutch in some of these big games. You look at the Porto game, that finish, the pass from Odegaard into Trossard, puts it into the bottom corner. An argument to maybe have him there. Gabriel Jesus played on the left wing for the Brighton game. It's definitely an option there. Who would you guys go with in this game, Matt?
Gabby Martinelli, to be honest. I was kind of trying to think of
Your mate?
his song I could. Best mate, yeah.
Yeah.
Fun fact, I was wearing this top when I met him, so there's that. Bit of good luck for him to score tomorrow. But no, I think it's interesting how he's being managed at the minute. I think sometimes people look too much into things. I think him playing as a right winger is, like almost if Saka can't play or if Jesus can't play, without him being an out-and-out right winger, like starting games at right wing. And equally, Arteta's always been incredibly careful with Gabby Martinelli. And, Jesus obviously doing the conference with Arteta. I don't know if that really means anything in terms of him being a starter, but equally it'd be a bit strange if, a key player was doing it without, like somebody who's not actually starting. So then at that point, it's either Havertz in the midfield or Jesus off the left. Jesus down the middle and then Martinelli off the left, or Jesus off the left and then, of course, Martinelli's benched. And I'd like to see Martinelli start. I think, the transitional pace he offers is just like anything we have in the squad. Good evening to Rohan as well.
There he is.
What a man.
The man
himself. He's been pulling duty on the other channel, on my other side gig. He was on the Latte Foam earlier.
Oh, was he? Oh,
he was.
Rohan's been saying it all day, and he's, we will say it again because we will be there. We will be there tomorrow.
I'm looking forward to seeing everyone there. It's going to be one of those. That's another part of it I enjoy. Seeing you lads, it's always nice to see everybody there.
It'll be nice. And then we'll get Matt and Yum to meet each other for the first time.
We probably won't recognise each other. Be like, who's this? It's you, isn't it? Because Matt's like this huge dude. I know.
Yeah, Matt. You'll be like, oh, hey Matt, nice to didn't. Hey Matt. Yeah. No, Matt, you are very tall.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But
a lot of people think I'm smaller, but there's the surprise.
Mate, you are a giant. Everyone is giants, apart from me and Rohan are sensible height, I will put it. Left wing, Gabriel Martinelli. Any kind of? How do you feel?
This is where my mind's going. I would ordinarily say Gabby Martinelli would start, but I'm thinking Villa at the weekend as well. It's a game we can't lose. And you want a bit of pace. So do you say, look, Gabriel Jesus is very good for the Champions League. I think he's more suited to the Champions League than the league. I'm inclined to go with Gary Jesus to start tomorrow, just to give that element of chaos, and then Gary Martinelli starts the weekend, because I just think that Martinelli against Aston Villa in the past has been devastating.
Just to add as well as an interesting talking point, Gabriel Jesus did the pre-match presser today, and he was, the Arsenal player that was put forward. So that can often be a sign that, it's not always guaranteed, but it can be a sign that this player is going to be involved, because it'll be a bit interesting if you,
I think who's their right back? It's Pavard, isn't it? Is Pavard playing?
I think Kimmich has played there.
Kimmich, because Pavard's gone to Inter. What am I saying?
I was going to say
Kimmich played again in the Heidenheim game.
If Kimmich is there, if Kimmich is playing it, then Jesus for me would represent something, would give that bit of chaos factor. I just think that he probably will start. I think Arteta trusts him in these games, and I just think Martinelli will be saved for either to come on, but certainly for the Villa game, because the Villa game is just as important now. This is the problem. We've got this very good position that we're in that we have to win every game now. It's where we want to be, but you have to rotate appropriately. And you've got quality players. You can't just play the full first team every game and just say, that's it. We'll play the full first team and no one else. You've got to be a bit more careful and smart with the rotation, which is why you think, okay, look, Zinni may not play this one, but he probably will play against, would he play against Moussa Diaby? I don't know. Again, that's another one to put there. But Aston Villa still has to be in Mikel Arteta's thought process.
They've got Lille too as well, which is interesting.
And no Douglas Luiz. So Aston Villa are down, but you can't, even without Douglas Luiz, they still look a quality outfit. You've got Moussa Diaby, you've got Leon Bailey, Ollie Watkins, etc. They rolled over for Man City, but they won't roll over for us. We have to, and we also owe them one, because that game at Villa was not even close, and we absolutely battered them, and they still got that goal.
So, I think it's interesting you mentioned the Martinelli for Villa, because obviously in that home game, they especially played such a high line. But, that City game, maybe, I can't say I watched, obviously I didn't watch it. It was the same time as our game against Luton, or a bit after. But, potentially if they go with that sort of high line, or even if it's not an excessively high line, there will be moments in transition. Maybe, if you think tomorrow will be far more pragmatic, then Jesus starting, and then Martinelli on the weekend against a side who potentially play relatively high up, obviously not at all times, but there will be space to exploit and runs in behind or transitions to be had. And then Martinelli off the bench, maybe if we could get into a settled game state, Bayern, the game becomes a bit more stretched, and then that suits Martinelli.
I think Jesus suits tomorrow just a little bit more than Martinelli, and just looking ahead towards Villa, because you've got to make sure your pieces are all correct. And I think Jesus still provides that kind of chaos factor that we want against Bayern Munich.
So just based off this, Matt, are you happy to concede that, Jesus over Martinelli after your initial choice?
I tried debating, but no, particularly with Jesus. Jesus' Champions League record as well was sensational.
Yeah, no, of course,
game, one chance, banged it in. One chance against Sevilla, put it top corner. He's an R9 against Champions League oppositions, finishing wise. So there's that. Wow. But yeah, his record in Champions League is superb, and obviously you need those big players.
Absolutely. And then striker, Mineralsvert, as Rohan calls him, Kai Havertz.
I love that. That video is honestly, they got a fantastic player, because he's got the minerals. He's got the minerals.
Kai Havertz.
All the way. Yeah. Against Dyer and Delete, who are supposedly the defense. Yeah, it will be such an interesting contest, because Kai is again such an incredible thinker in terms of how he positions himself. Because Delete and Dyer do not want to get dragged out of the back line, and Kai is excellent at dragging people out the back line. So this is what we want. That's what you want. You want a player who is awkward, and he's so awkward.
Oh, he's havoc. Even on against Brighton, he had such a top game. There was one moment from, I think it was a throw-in, where he nearly forced an issue out of completely nothing by a bit of physical and dunk, and he nearly got a touch to it, or got a touch but couldn't quite divert it forwards. And he's horrible to play as a defender.
You want that kind of awkwardness, because Delete and Dyer all respect, again, due respect to them. I love Delete. Delete is was one of my favorite, but they're very standard centre backs. You know what I mean? They want to stay in the back line. They want to stay in their structure. They don't like stepping out, and they don't like being in the midfield, because as soon as they hit that midfield, they're worried about the pacing behind. And that's what Kai Havertz does for you. He makes it awkward and creates space where you don't think there is. And that's what I want. So it's not even a contest who starts up front. But I think Trossard as well will form part of a problem for Bayern Munich, because I think
Jack's made a comment saying Leo question mark regarding. I assume that's regarding striker, because that's when he dropped it in. But I think I still think you start Kai Havertz, and then you've got the option of Trossard off the bench on the left or down the middle.
I think it's off the bench. Yeah. I can't see him starting this game, because I think it's calling for pace and a bit of power in this game, and you want people who have got that physicality. With all due respect to Trossard, I still don't think of him as a winger. I think he's an inside forward who needs to be round the box. I don't think he's very good at taking on people. He's got a good little bit of dribbling, but he hasn't got the pace. That's just how it is. But he's so clinical. And I think coming on in this kind of game is going to be, he'd be such a weapon. I think he may start Villa, though, because I think he's got that kind of presence that disrupts, again, someone, like their defense as well. So, but for me, Havertz has been doing so well. I can't see him not starting this game.
Yeah, no, it's a huge game. Arsenal versus Bayern Munich tomorrow night in the Champions League. We will be there, as I say, for the 10th or 11th time, as we tick past 500 people tuned in as well.
And might be there, depending on if he can make his train in 5 minutes from when he finishes work.
Yeah, well, I'll be fine. I'll be fine.
Have you got some good trainers at least, Dan? Put those trainers on, get ready.
Oh man, I'll have my I'll don't you worry about me. I'll be fine. I'll clock in start my shift a few minutes early just to make up for the time. But do you know what as well?
An hour early.
Trust the process. Trust the process, Jan. Just
no. Do you know what it is as well though? The way that where I work in Southampton and the train station, it's literally probably if you're walking 5 minutes from where from my work. So man, I'll be absolutely fine. Don't stress about that. I'll be there. We will be there. Can't wait for it. Arsenal, Bayern Munich in the Champions League.
We're gonna have to get a picture tomorrow. That's
a big
thing.
Don't worry. Don't stress, man. We'll get it sorted.
Matt might be up there. That's the problem.
Yeah. we'll pan out. We'll do it on the the iPhone feature where you get the 0.5 photograph. We'll use that option. Matt, thank you so much for your time. Everyone that's tuned in, commented, interacted, really appreciate you being there tonight. Just over 500 people tuned in at the moment. So, really appreciate all the support on the channel. Follow us at AFC Newsday on Twitter. We'll be posting a few little bits around the game tomorrow night. It promises to be, an incredible atmosphere. If Arsenal score an early goal, or if Arsenal score at any point, then the roof is going to blow off the place. So it's a huge game. Can't wait for it. Get involved. Follow us. Follow everyone here. You can see our apps on the screen. Please like the video. Subscribe to us on YouTube, AFC Newsday. And we'll catch you next time. Take care, everyone.